Hello and welcome to the Dailies. A wave of major stories dominated global headlines today. In a historic first for Japan, Sanae Takaichi became the country's first female prime minister, marking a potential political turning point. In the Middle East, developments around the fragile Gaza ceasefire and shifting US-Israel relations continue to intensify. Meanwhile, renewed scrutiny of Prince Andrew and his ties to Jeffrey Epstein dominated headlines in the UK and beyond. We'll start from the UK as British press covered the scandal following Virginia Giuffre's memoir with new allegations against Prince Andrew. Coverage has been intense and also crucial. Reports focused on renewed calls for accountability, and the memoir is framed as a moment of reckoning for the royal family, testing its credibility and public trust. Many outlets also reported on the prince allegedly not paying rent on Royal Lodge for 2 decades, as well as his alleged attempt to hire internet trolls to hassle Virginia Giuffre, according to her memoir. The Times asked, could Andrew be stripped of his prince title as well? The paper examines growing political pressure on Keir Starmer's government to strip Prince Andrew, Duke of York, of his royal titles following his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Although Andrew has agreed to stop using the title of Duke of York, he legally retains it under a 1917 royal decree. Labour Party MPs are also calling for an Act of Parliament, the only legal means to remove a royal title. The piece highlights cross-party support is emerging, though Downing Street insists the matter rests with the palace. The report concludes that Prince Andrew's ties to Epstein and other controversies demand transparency and accountability, while the government seeks to avoid a constitutional clash with the monarchy. The Guardian, on the other hand, analyses how resolving Prince Andrew, Duke of York's lingering scandals could ease William, Prince of Wales's eventual ascension to the throne. The analysis contends that while King Charles III has suspended Andrew's dukedom, titles and Garter knighthood, they remain legally intact, leaving William to face a potential Andrew problem as king. William is reportedly prepared to act more decisively, potentially barring Andrew from public royal events. The piece also highlights the optics of Andrew's continued residence at Royal Lodge, Windsor, underscoring unresolved financial and reputational issues. It concludes addressing Andrew now could indeed spare William future controversy during his reign. The Telegraph reviewed Virginia Giuffre's memoir, Nobody's Girl, describing it as a harrowing account of abuse, power, and systematic failure. Written with journalist Amy Wallace, it details Giuffre's brutal childhood, recruitment by Maxwell, and exploitation by Jeffrey Epstein. Now, according to the review, Virginia recounts repeated sexual abuse, including her allegations against Prince Andrew, Duke of York, which he denies. The piece also describes the book as both testimony and indictment, depicting a world where wealth and influence shield predators. The review concludes Giuffre's story, published posthumously, cements her legacy as a central figure in exposing one of the most disturbing abuse networks of the modern era. The Middle East remained in focus as American envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner pressed for talks on Phase 2 of the Trump-Gaza peace plan during their visit to the region. Haaretz examined the growing tension between Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump over the US-brokered Gaza ceasefire. It reveals how Trump's envoys, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, have assumed tight control over negotiations, often siding with Hamas on key disputes. The analysis also contends that this sidelines Israel's political leadership and exposes Netanyahu's fragile grip on his far-right coalition. The piece underscores the paradox of negotiating with Hamas while planning its eventual elimination, a contradiction that may soon destabilize Israeli politics. It portrays Netanyahu as constrained by Washington's agenda, struggling to balance U.S. demands, domestic pressure, and his own political survival. This view of American control over Israeli politics was echoed in other outlets as well. Israel Hayom argues that since October 7, Israel has increasingly functioned like a U.S. protectorate, its military and democratic freedom heavily constrained by Washington. The piece outlines 4 key developments: full American backing at the war's outset, U.S. intervention during the Rafah operation, joint action in strikes against Iran, and an imposed ceasefire deal with Hamas after the Doha strike. Donald Trump's administration now dictates red lines, according to the piece, halts Israeli missions, and shields Israel diplomatically while limiting its autonomy. The report frames this as a historic shift from a close ally to near dependency, with the U.S. acting as both military guarantor and political gatekeeper, leaving Benjamin Netanyahu little room to maneuver. The Palestine Chronicle provides a strategic analysis of how Hamas and other Palestinian factions in Gaza Strip managed to frustrate Israel's military goals despite overwhelming force. The analysis attributes this resilience to 3 internal factors and 1 external element. Internally, unwavering ideological commitment, robust organizational structure with rapid leadership replacement, and deep-rooted popular support sustained the resistance, according to the piece. Broader geopolitical conditions enabled it also to endure. The article or the piece frames the war as a rare case where an outmatched force maintained operational capacity under extreme conditions, undermining Israel's strategic assumptions. This, the author argues, may mark a turning point in the conflict's dynamics and the perceived limits of Israel's military dominance. The Guardian reported on the returned Palestinian prisoners' bodies to Gaza, saying at least 135 mutilated bodies were traced to Detainee, an Israeli detention facility already facing allegations of torture and deaths in custody. The report quotes Gaza health officials who say document tags confirmed the origin of the bodies, many of which bore signs of execution, point-blank gunfire, and binding. Whistleblowers and doctors described detainees kept blindfolded, handcuffed, and subjected to severe abuse. Human rights groups, including also Physicians for Human Rights Israel, are demanding an independent international investigation. The IDF said misconduct allegations are under review, but did not comment on the specific claims. The piece concludes the case highlights growing calls for accountability over detainee treatment and wartime deaths. International media reported on Japan's historic political moment as Sanae Takaichi becomes the country's first female prime minister. The Japan Times highlights in its report how she decisively defeated Yoshihiko Noda with 237 votes in the lower house, thanks in part to a coalition between the Liberal Democratic Party and the Japan Innovation Party. The piece highlights how this victory not only breaks Japan's political glass ceiling, but also reflects growing momentum for gender representation in leadership. A seasoned lawmaker with 30 years of experience, Takaichi brings a strong background in economic security and governance. The piece also hints at the strategic importance of her cabinet appointments, which may shape the direction of both domestic and foreign policy in this new political era. Le Monde examines the findings of the 13th French Fracture Survey, revealing how France's prolonged political instability has fueled unprecedented public distrust in leadership. Charts show a 12-point rise in support for dissolving the Assemblée Nationale, particularly strong among far-right voters. Another graph also highlights record low trust in political parties, 10%, and also in parliamentarians, around 20%, while mayors remain trusted by 68%, signaling faith in local governance over national politics. Economic charts also underscore growing insecurity, 57% struggle financially, and also 61% favor wealth redistribution. Despite these pressures, also 66% of people still support democracy, as we can see here, though 85% want a strong leader. Immigration and racism data reveal deep partisan divides. The piece powerfully blends numbers and analysis to portray a nation at a critical democratic crossroads. And we'll end with the Wall Street Journal, which details how a minor domain name system update triggered a massive outage at Amazon Web Services, disturbing essential outline services across the US. The glitch was in Amazon DynamoDB. It sent trillions of requests astray, affecting platforms like Slack, Zoom, Venmo, Robinhood, and also Coinbase. Charts and timelines in the piece also visualize the outage's cascading impact, from delaying flights to halted financial trades. Analysts warn that this underscores the fragility of global cloud infrastructure dominated by Amazon, which controls a third of the market. The outage is likely to accelerate cloud diversification strategies as businesses seek to reduce risk tied to a single provider. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.